Is Magical Mallet broken? Not meta broken, but like literally broken? I don't know. Maybe? For the three of you who have never seen this whimsical red hammer before, Magical Mallet is a normal spell card known lovingly for its starring role in cringe FTK decks, allowing you to mulligan back part of your hand. The anime version of this is absolutely busted out the ass, letting you mulligan cards back to the deck, including Magical Mallet, making it a literal hand refresh that can be used again if you draw back into it.
So if I draw it again, which I just did, I can play it again and again.
However, just like many things in life, reality is disappointing. Real Mallet only lets you return other cards back to the deck, making you go -1 to exchange some cards. And while it can be occasionally useful to return a brick or draw into Exodia or something, it's generally considered to be so bad that even Dzef, even Doug made a whole "Why Nobody Plays" video on it. Well, what if I told you that it might be even worse than we thought? If you've spent the amount of time on Reddit that I have, you might have noticed that there appears to be a probability-defying chance that this piece of shit hammer gives you back the exact same card or cards that you just returned, which effectively turns its entire effect into go -1. But of course, it's hard to tell whether this is an actual RNG algorithm problem or just human negativity bias kicking in. And the reason no one knows is that no poor soul has been dumb enough to just sit down and try it a bunch of times, then check the data on it. Because who on earth would be that fucking stupid? Data collecting and experiments are done by scientists, and I'm something of a scientist myself. Every good experiment needs a good procedure. It's what separates us from the beasts. Today's procedure is going to help us test whether or not Magical Mallet has an unfair chance of returning what it sent back. For starters, I'm going to be using Duel Links, partly for the deck size, and partly for a reason I'll go over in a little bit. And using Duel Links, I've built this deck right here. This masterpiece I've built, which I have dubbed Magical Mulligan, is a 20-card deck consisting of 3 Magical Mallets and 17 one-ofs. Why 17 one-ofs? Well, every duel I'm gonna draw 4 cards, and I'm gonna have anywhere from 0 to 3 hammers, and at least 1 other card. If I open 0 mallets, I'm surrendering. Because fun fact, I can't test Magical Mallet with no Magical Mallet. If I have at least 1 and I'm going first, I'm simply gonna activate Magical Mallet, return 1 one-of card, and write down whether I get the same card back or not. What if you go second? Good question. If I'm going second, there's 2 problems. Problem 1, the time it takes my opponent to finish their turn 1 is probably longer than the time it would take for me to just find another duel. Because we're playing speed duels, right? But more importantly, once I draw a card going second, it's gonna offset the probability ratio since I would now be returning a single card to a deck size of 15. Well, luckily for me, I thought about this ahead of time, which is why I'm playing Duel Links. Going second is solved by a Duel Links skill. Order of Chaos allows me to return cards back to the deck, giving me the ability to normal summon an extra V Salamander. There aren't any V Salamanders in the deck.
Where did it go?
But the skill doesn't care about that. This way I can return 1 card back and then be in the same situation I would be on turn 1. Finally, while I don't think this last thing really affects anything, just to make sure I replicate everything, I am, against my better judgment, going to be testing all of this in ranked PvP. Maybe I'll even run into some of you guys. How will you know? Trust me, you'll know.
What the hell is this?
And now for the moment I've been dreading. Let's go test some hammers. Why did I do this stupid fucking video? This took so long. Guys, one time I went 10 games back to back without opening a single mallet. And then to add insult to injury, when you surrender, there's still that issue that sometimes takes an additional 30 seconds to disconnect. And then on top of that, this is lower rank, so there were a lot of people playing Dark Paladin that love to mash the yes button when I play Magical Mallet, thus denying me a testing opportunity. Well, it's done now. How many did I do? 200 tests. Is that a lot? For me, yes. For probability-wise, we'll talk about that in a second. Here is the spreadsheet with all my results. If I got the same card back, I put a 1. If not, I put a 0. Adding all these up shows I got 11 times out of 100 that I got the same card back that I returned, which comes out to an average of a 5.5% chance that I would return the same card back. How does that compare to the expected? Well, when I return a card back, I have 16 cards in the deck. But when I draw the card back, we count the return card, giving me a 1 in 17 chance of pulling the same card, which comes out to 5.8%. Okay, well, that's pretty close. I'm pretty sure we can say, at least from my small test, that Magical Mallet works pretty correctly. But we're scientists. We can't just eyeball it. We need to calculate for it. It's what separates us from the beasts. As all things are when it comes to probability, sometimes shit just happens. And sometimes it happens a lot. You can theoretically flip a coin 100 times and have all 100 come up heads and still have it be a fair coin. But how about if that happened with 1,000 or 10,000? Obviously, as we test more and more, any skews in our results will become more and more telling. And at some point, we gotta draw the line for where things are getting a little sus, right? Well, that is what a p-value is for. The simplified definition is a value that helps tell us how sus our data is. But before I get hunted down and killed by the folks at graphpad.wistia.com, this is the actual definition. The first thing we're going to need is a null hypothesis. Here goes. Magical Mallet is not bullshit. Okay, for the sake of your sanities, I'm going to skip some of the actual calculations here. But put simply, I calculated the t-score using the sample amount, the expected mean, the actual mean, and the standard deviation, and used that to calculate a p-value of about 0.88. Which is basically an 88% chance that we probably shouldn't throw out our null hypothesis. So, Magical Mallet is probably not broken. And just like that, we prove that, wait, what do you mean I need to test it on a real deck? Is this not a real deck? Okay, fine. You don't like Magical Malligan. Just for you guys, I made another deck. This time I made a Madolcha deck with 3 garnets. I won't explain every single option for each hand combo, but just as an overview, it's pretty much the same as the last test, except that 1, I make sure that all 3 garnets are in the deck for a 3 out of 17 chance to draw them back, and 2, I'm literally gonna just return any card, and the test is gonna be, does Magical Mallet have a larger chance of returning bricks? Okay, let's get to testing. Why do I do this? Okay, I did another 200 tests with this, and I got this. This time I would expect a 3 out of 17 or 17.6% chance to get the same card back. And I ended up with a 28 out of 200 result, which is a mean of 14%. That's lower again. So already ballpark, we can pretty confidently say that it's probably not broken. But to separate us from the beasts, once again, let's calculate the p-value. Let's see, standard deviation, expected mean, actual mean, and we get, yup, it's high, again, because of course it is. And with that high value, we can't throw out our null hypothesis just yet. So, what did we learn today? We learned a good way to waste at least a week of finishing my day job and then spending 2 to 3 hours data collecting in Yu-Gi-Oh! And all that to learn that the magical hammer does indeed hammer magically. I did actually run into one of you guys who was thoroughly confused by what I was doing. Sorry, Sonny Capasso. Hopefully I run into you again one day when I'm not testing this fucking hammer. If any of you are math or statistics people, please let me know if I did these right. And next time, maybe I'll test switcheroo or something. Or maybe you guys can. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, you can subscribe and or go check out some other videos. It's mostly shitposting, historically degenerate decks, and funny educational content. Okie doke, see y'all.